All of that stuff really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because there's a difference between being fast and playing fast. And that right there was the difference. And it is the difference. You can be fast, right? On the field.
Yes.
But playing fast being fast is physical.
Yes.
Right? Being fast is physical. I'm, genetically inclined to be fast and have quick twitch, but playing fast has everything to do with knowing and understanding your responsibility and what your role is and what the, what you can do in the scope of your responsibilities are.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Masters of the Game. It is Matt Phillips with you as always. And today, very special guest, a friend of mine who I got to meet probably years ago at this point. I can't remember how we got connected, but it's just awesome when people are put in your path that you connect with, that you understand, that you get, and that, when you're able to sit with them and talk sports and life, that man, there's just that kind of kindred spirit there. So without further ado, I'm going to give a little background on him in a little bit, but Kevin McKenzie, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure.
It's so good. So a little about your background, for those of you who don't know much about Kevin. And listen, side note, we have all these amazing guests on this show. And I tell you over and over and over again, like study the best, right? Understand their habits and what they do and how they do it. And Kevin is no exception to that. But a little bit about his background. He's a California kid born in Los Angeles, attended Woodrow Wilson High School in Long Beach. He had the opportunity to go play college football at Washington State University, which I might be wearing the Washington State colors right now. I have this feeling that I put
like
on this. All right.
Crimson, I like it. We boys right now. I like it.
It's not planned. I promise you that. It was one of the clean shirts I have laying around the house. But after Washington State University, he actually came out as an undrafted free agent, signed with the San Francisco 49ers. He also had time with the Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, and then actually continued his career in the AFL with the San Jose SaberCats, Colorado Crush, and Arizona Rattlers. Just a fascinating sports background that we're going to dive into a little bit. Most important thing about you, father of two great kids, husband to an amazing wife who I've had the pleasure of meeting. And you're pretty active on social media, and we're going to put links to this, but you have what you call your top of the morning, your message of the day, to inspire individuals, whether athlete, coach, or just person in business and life, that we're going to put links to as well. But again, that's just a little bit about your background. And, Kevin, I always like to start these with kind of a big question, right? But what's one of the greatest memories you have from your football playing days?
I think, I guess one of the biggest moments for me, I kind of go all the way back to high school. When you first found the love for it, I think that right there just solidified it all to me. Was going out there and being able to start my first varsity game in high school, and how that whole transition took place of me, transitioning from a defensive guy to an offensive guy. It was like by chance. So I was starting on defense, playing strong safety, and we were playing Fountain Valley in California, and our starting fullback got hurt. We ran the wing T system, so we had two wings, and the fullback was in the middle. And our starting fullback got hurt right before halftime, and they came to me on the sideline and asked if I would be willing to go back there and play the position. And I said, hey, I never done it before, so but for the purpose of winning this game, I'll do it. And I think my first carry, so they gave me a dive, they gave me a dive. And on my first carry, I took it 80 yards to the house. So for me, this
is easy.
Man, this is what you want me to do? I can do that. I can do that. So for there, I just fell in love with it.
That's awesome. Well, and you're I want to dive into your transition, right, from the high school level to the collegiate level and then ultimately to pro level, because I think it's fascinating, right? And what I love what you said, first of all, is the word I just used, but that love of the game. Do you think that's just in general one of the secrets to success? Like, do you have to have a love for the game of football in your case, or what you're doing to be successful at like every level in your mind? Or can it turn into a business where it becomes a job? Like, or do you have to maintain that? What's your opinion on that?
I think initially, just like anything else, you have to be attracted to it. You have to be attracted to it, and then the love from there. Because if you don't have the love for it, or if you're not attracted to it, then it will feel like work, and it'll feel like an obligation, and it'll be easy for you to slide off the rails of discipline in order to achieve success. So I think you do have to initially fall in love with whatever it is that you aspire to do or aspire to be, in order for it to for you to be able to chase the path of longevity and success.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to talk about that more in a little bit. But let's talk high school to college transition real quick. What was that like for you? Were you pretty highly recruited out of high school to go play at different schools? What was that kind of path like for you to Washington State?
In the beginning, I had no idea about, being recruited or anything like that, and what what you had to do. I was just playing football just because I could, and I had fun, and, the rest of my guys were doing it. And then, as we got closer, to into my senior year, guys were talking about, hey, you can go on and play in college. And I'm like, what you mean, like on Saturdays? We're watching on TV? What you mean? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, man, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, like, for real? Like, I didn't think that. And so, it starts to sink in. It's like, wait a minute, like this can possibly happen. And unfortunately, I wasn't set up to move right out of high school. So I went to junior college. I went to junior college for a year and a half. Went to Long Beach City College, and then from there, it kind of became real to me. It was like, okay, man, if these are the guys because some guys had come back from a 4-year college to play at Long Beach City College, and so just being integrated with those guys. And those guys then telling you like, oh man, I know a guy when I was at Oregon that you remind me of. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this man, like same height, same speed, same athleticism. Like, yeah, you can go ball. And then it's like, okay, really? Like, man, this is something that can actually happen. So for me, it took a little bit for to understand, the nuances of, one, that it was possible, and two, then making it possible.
How did that switch occur for you? Because I think this is such an important piece, right? That I hear in a lot of talking with people, right? And you just said it, right? You have to ultimately jump over to like, I believe it can happen, and I'm going to take the steps necessary. And that can be hard to get to, right? Get to that point to make that jump or take that step, however you want to phrase it. But what was it for you? Was it just like hearing over and over and over again from these guys that it's possible, and one day it just like triggered and you're like, I'm going to go after this thing? Or did somebody approach you and like, what was that trigger for you to be like, I'm going to go do this thing?
Just one, not having the support system for me to believe initially, and then me just doing something that I enjoy doing, and then affirmations from people around, then saying, hey, no, you can, you can do this. You can do this. And so I think for me, it was more of a gradual process of accumulated confidence and belief that it could be done, and then starting to, put it into practice. Like, okay, if that's the case, if I'm turning around and I'm looking and they're saying, no, go ahead, keep going. Like, why are you looking back here? There's nothing back here for you. Everything is there. Then it was like, okay, all right. And then just being immersed in the environment of other guys, then it's like, making like turn into my left and turn into my right and saying, no, I can. Like this, these guys aren't better than me, and I am just as fast or faster. And I was really, really competitive. So for me, anytime you put me next to someone, I'm intrinsically motivated to beat them, whether they knew it or not.
I love that. I think it's so important too, of sometimes when we don't believe it at first, it's like paying attention, listening, taking it in. And then there's that evolution where at some point you're going to start believing yourself and being like, man, I got this. I love that. Like, I love that visual that I'm picturing in my head as you're talking about, like not looking back and then being, or if you do, they're like, there's nothing here for you.
Yeah.
Like, why are you looking this way? Go that way.
Yep. And that's essentially how it was, growing up in Los Angeles. And I did not go to Long Beach Poly. Long Beach Poly was the school where, a lot of the athletes in the NFL would come from. And so anything around that, it was almost kind of like an afterthought. It wasn't a vision or a plan to me. Like if you had a vision and you had a plan, you were over at Long Beach Poly. But remember, I came from Los Angeles, California, and then moved out to Long Beach. So there was a transition phase of just not being tapped in to the environment, to the schools, and playing sports. I didn't play organized Little League football, so I just never had the. It was all just beginning for me. It was all just beginning. So, but I just think that that's why it's important. I talk about this a lot. Why it's important that you have people around you that can help you instill that belief, because how do you know? How do you know? Unless people are constantly feeding you positive messaging that will then essentially, start to evolve into your own messaging and your own belief that will fuel, whatever it is that you're trying to do or whatever you become interested in.
I love that side of it. And so when did you start playing football? Like in high school?
In high school.
Yep. You just picked it up and you're like, this could be fun. Like, what got you into the game?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, my dad was really big on football, and my dad was always watch the games Sunday nights and then Monday night and stuff like that. And I just remember watching the games and getting, just being glued to the TV and thinking to myself, like, oh man, like I could do that. That looks fun. And I'm just thinking to myself, but I'd never done it before. And we would play football all the time. Like two-hand touch in the streets and stuff. We used to play in the streets all the time. Avoid the cars, let the cars go by. All right. The whole game on, Game on. and so, but just seeing it. And I remember watching the Seattle Seahawks, and I think versus the Jets. So I was a Jets fan just because they were my favorite color was emerald green. And I just loved the Jets. And one night, if I'm not mistaken, the Jets were playing the Seattle Seahawks. And there was this guy that was just killing my team, just really doing a number on my team. And every time they threw him the ball, he caught it. And he was, even when they tried to double team him, he was still catching the ball and, keeping us chains moving, first down after first down to touchdown, and the score. And when I realized that the time was running out and we didn't have enough time, I still remember this guy's name. His name is Steve Largent, and he was unstoppable. And for me, when the game was over, my dad, because I was visibly frustrated, pounding the ground, pounding the floor. And, I kind of slid behind on the side of the couch while I'm watching TV. And my dad poked his head around there because he got up. He was going into the kitchen and he walked by and he looked down. And he was like, "Hey, Kevin, look at me." And I looked up at him and, my face was full of tears, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I can't stand Steve Largent. I hate that guy. I hate him. He beat my team, and so from there, it was almost like a passion, It was like a passion. Like that was the competitive edge for me that was brought out.
That's amazing. And it's so funny. So growing up, we lived for a couple of years in Spokane, Washington, and we actually went to Seattle Seahawks training camp when I was little, Kevin, when I was a little guy. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, we met Steve Largent. So your nemesis.
Man. I mean, and later on you grow to love him just because you value everything that he did for the game, and then you start to learn about his history and all the work that he put in to be that guy who just essentially dominated my team that night. But yeah, so Steve Largent, man, I never forgot the name.
That's wild. So I was going to ask what motivated you throughout your all years of football. It's Steve Largent, so I don't have to ask that anymore.
Steve Largent, he was the inception right there, Steve. So if you're listening, just know you sparked it for me.
Oh, it's so good. That's so good. So you're playing junior college for that year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Did Washington State come knocking at that point, or what was that? How'd you get picked up by him ultimately?
Yeah, so Washington State, it was, the recruiting process was, not like how it is now. So back then, scouts had to come to the school, watch film, or you had to send off film, right? So I made a highlight film, a highlight tape. The VHS thing was about that big, about that long, and I remember after the season, can't remember. Yeah, it was like after the season, I sat at the football office with, the roll-in TV, with the VCR, with the TV up on the stand like we used to watch back in either science class or health class. And I just remember making a highlight film. I made a highlight film. I just did all the cut-ups of touchdowns that I had. And that's essentially all I did. It was just like all touchdowns that I had. And in junior college, I had a lot of them. And because I was playing receiver and running back, and I was doing kick return. So,
oh, geez.
I had a lot of them. And so I just went through and I just cut them all up. And I did mine the way that you said, where the coaches say, don't do it. They say, put your best play at the beginning. Well, my best plays were at the end because I just went from game one all the way to, the end of the season. But, and I just made a highlight film, and then I made, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 copies. And then I just asked the coach, hey, if I make these copies, would you be able to send them off to schools for me? And he said, yeah. And I stayed in there pretty much all day. I got there early in the morning and stayed there all day, and then had to come back the next day and then make the copies and finalize it and stuff like that. And I wish I still had one. I'm pretty sure if I in my uncle's garage, he would probably still have, probably would be a tape in there. But I made it, and the coach sent them out for me, and then eventually, Washington State came a knocking.
That's amazing. Okay, so I want to ask you this, because so to put that effort in to make that video, make all the copies, you come out of high school, you're not really familiar with the recruiting process, right? Not set up. That's why you're where you're at right then.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you start putting all this effort, right? And around recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I know you put in lots of effort on the football field, right?
Right.
That takes some guts to put that together and to send it out. And what would you say to athletes who are maybe like hesitating a little bit to like put something together or send something out, or even ask a coach for help to send something out? What would you say to them? Because a lot of athletes hesitate with that.
Yeah. I would say, one, just, if this were, depending on if they played on offense or defense, and then what position they played. So let's say it's a receiver or a defensive back. If it's a receiver, and this is 3rd and 6, it's 3rd and 6, and you're at the top of your route, and the ball is released, and you can see it, right? You can see it. How much effort would you and how much focus would you put in to making the catch? It's the 4th quarter, right? And it's 3rd and 6. And if you catch it, you continue to move the chains, and we can run out the clock. If you drop it, then you give the other team an opportunity to go up by 3 or so. So everything's riding on it, right? everything's riding on that moment. And if you can take that moment and put it into perspective like that, the work that you would put into the field, put into you developing on the field, put that same effort in and just flat out let go of the outcome and just focus on what you want to happen and go after it.
That's such great advice. I think as all athletes, right? And I, in the past would hesitate on certain things, right? And still do. And I think it's human nature, right? We hesitate because we're like, the fear crops up and doubt can crop up and all sorts of stuff. But I love that analogy of you're trying to move the chains forward, take that same energy and move the chains forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same, it's the same thing. And I think that's why when it comes to athletes or former athletes in business, and I say that this is a really good reason why, business leaders then like having their either employees or their leaders of the company have athletic backgrounds, because, they can actualize those moments, put them into perspective, create a plan, and focus on achieving the goal. Where some people may not be able to tap into that energy or tap into that vision and that know-how or that desire to not allow anything to get in their way, and to want to complete it at a high level, being a high performer, and then to replicate it again. So you may have some people that can do it one time. Athletes, we are used to the repetitive motion of getting things done and being successful at it. And also just, building the confidence and the skill of being able to do it again.
Yes. So true. Oh, love that. So what in your mind was the biggest transition from like even high school to JUCO to Washington State? Like what were some of the big adjustments you had to go through personally? Because again, that's a significant level from high school even to JUCO to Washington State, right? The talent you played with. What were the biggest transitions for you?
I think one was the JUCO phase. That was a big transition, but one of the biggest for me was from JUCO to Washington State, because again, like I said, I was playing 3 different positions. I was playing, slot receiver, tailback. It was what they called it back in the days, tailback, and I was doing kickoff return, right? So naturally, having the ball in my hands was what I was comfortable with, and I knew that I can get things done. When I got to Washington State, it was a little bit different. It was a little bit different because, everyone was fast, right? Everyone, no matter if they were a linebacker, D lineman, there was very little hesitancy in decision making, which didn't leave a lot of room for hesitancy in my decision making. So if there was any, afterthought of, if I caught this, where should I go? Now everyone's closing. Yes. And so for me, I didn't have the breakout plays that I was used to, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, or couldn't figure out what was going wrong. And I wasn't able to create separation from guys like I was used to. And finally, for me, it just getting to a point of frustration, enough to humble myself and ask for help. That was a breaking moment, a breakdown moment for me to figure out what's the other component to this level of success. I see other guys out here, and I couldn't understand how was a guy that was, I didn't feel was as athletically gifted or as fast. How does he get open like that? I couldn't understand it. And so then for me, I was introduced into film study. So then I was able to, from film study, be able to take, I did that, to watching it and then being able to say, no, you didn't. you didn't do that. I could see it where the coach was saying, you didn't do it. And I'm like, I did. And the coach is like, all right, whatever. And then go back and watch the film and then have to go back and say, hey, coach, you know what? I apologize. I didn't do it. I thought I did. It felt like I did. I know I told myself to do it, but it didn't look like how, you asked me to do it, or when we did the drill, it didn't translate. So just being put in a situation to recognize, my faults in it, and being humbled enough to be able to say, you know what, there's more that I have to learn in order to be able to grow at this.
I used to be at some points like avoid watching film, right? Which baseball is a little bit different in that you're watching at bats, stuff like that. But what I've come to realize over the years when I did my career was the importance of like having an honest conversation or honest view of yourself of like the plays you're making or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there, to your point of like, there's a humility that has to come with it of you're not worse because of, you're not lesser than because of, but it's an opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to, you embraced it, it sounds like pretty quick, but you had to also humble yourself. Did you have to overcome that too of like, crap, I don't want to look because
man, have you ever like swallowed your pride? That hurts, man. That hurts. It's like a feeling in your chest, like, oh man, because, remember, I was in high school, part of one team that was able to beat Long Beach Poly. And that hasn't happened in years. And before I did it, it didn't happen. It happened 22 years before I did it, right? Or for my team did it. And so for me, and then, then now going to Long Beach City College, and, we were on the verge of winning the national championship in JUCO and having a huge role in that. I was the MVP before I left. And then to be told, like, you're not doing this right, and, you think that you are, but in actuality, you're not. And you can do this better. It's almost like you feel like someone is basically just trying to steal your confidence, trying to steal your confidence. That's what it felt like. Then after watching myself on film, it just makes you have to swallow your pride and then say, here, either I want to get better, right? Either I want to get better, or I'm going to continue to try to prove myself right through argument, and where does that leave me? Okay. So either one of those, like, which path am I going to choose to take? And it all depends on, like what you're willing to do. It's almost like the Mike Tomlin comment is, is not about, talent. It's basically what you are, not what you're capable of, but it is what you're willing to do.
I guess it's because, again, I think sometimes we sugarcoat the stuff of like, oh, I started watching film and then I, felt really good about myself and I switched to this learning mindset. At the same time, yes, that's true, but it sucks going through it. It's horrible. It can be brutal.
It's horrible. It's like, gut wrenching, and it like doesn't feel good in your chest. Most guys, we like to beat on our chests, because doing things, and, it makes us, especially the game, makes you feel manly.
Yep.
And then to, be around other men and those men are telling you, you're not who you think you are. You're not who you think you are. You could be, but as long as you, keep this mindset of pointing the finger at everything else besides yourself, then you'll never be. You'll never be. And I wanted to be, after I got into that environment, for me, for us in LA, I guess everything was like playing on TV, playing on TV. And we could see guys. I saw some guys that, went before me, Anthony Cobbs, guys like that, Willie McGinnis, and just seeing those guys, go from Long Beach to USC, UCLA. Yes. and just thinking like, man, I was playing against them, and then I was at the house watching them play on Saturdays. And if I do this right, if I do this, if I'm able to just get past this hump or whatever it is making me feel like, uncomfortable in here. If I can get past this point, then, my mom can see me playing on Saturdays on TV, my dad and my boys back home, like they can really feel, they can see me and be like I was, saying, man, that's my boy right there. Or I played against him, and I remember when we were walking to lunch, and look at him now. So those are some of the things.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, I've talked about this before. It's like we all have those things, right? And it's often that ego and pride that like males and females carry around, right? This isn't just a male thing, but it's like we're worse at it for sure than females. But it's like, what is the thing that might be getting in your way that if you just work through it and get to the other side of it can open up you playing on Sunday, or you getting that opportunity on varsity, or you getting that opportunity to get better grades, or like whatever that is. I don't know what everybody's thinking today, but it's that willingness to look at that thing and just say, man, but if I just get to the other side of this, what could be?
Yeah. And talk to my son. My son's in high school. He's over at Cherry Creek High School, and he just left to go do his finals. So he had one final earlier today, came back home, and now he's headed out to go do his other final. And, leading up to it, I was asking him like, hey, what have you done? Just like I would, I'm getting prepared for the upcoming season. What have you done extra to set yourself apart? And that's, your teachability index is what I always talk about, and your willingness to learn. Like, what are you willing to do in order to learn what you don't know, as opposed to just saying, you know what, I think I'm good right here. If I think I'm good, I know like 80% of the information on this upcoming final. I think I know like 80%. I feel like 80% good about it. But, and so, I think I'm good with that. I think I'm good with the 80%. And you don't know what that could mean to your grade, once that grade is put in. So what are you willing to do to go from the 80% to the 100 or the 98%? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to meet with some study buddies, some friends from the class? Are you willing to put yourself in a situation where you're asking them, hey, where did you find that information at? Or, how did you learn that? Or what are some of the study habits? Or are you willing to sit with me, during lunch period or something like that, and just, open yourself up? Because now everybody has more access to information.
Yes.
And now it's just really about being resourceful.
Yes. One of the things too is that you bring up an important point, right? Of in general, people want to help, right? And but regardless, like if that thing is like, I'm afraid to ask for help and overcome that side of it, then you're going to be stuck there forever, right? Where you could ask, someone could say something bad, but at the end of the day, I look at that as like the courage you took, like the confidence you should take from that, even though it sucks and it's probably uncomfortable, and you can say not nice things about them, right, for their reaction. But that takes guts to do that. That's something to build off of, right? You're looking at a foundation, but it's the extra 20%, right? Going from 80 to 100, that's the hardest. And not a lot of people are willing to ask. Absolutely.
I think, you just touched on that word that is probably, I think, as forgotten about as, a lot of other things is courage. Courage is one that, if you can walk with courage and through things with courage, you can go a long way, because, it's just sometimes being willing enough to put yourself out there, or being willing enough to, take a step, say the one thing, or raise your hand, that may open up the door for you to become a public speaker, or for you to, get that promotion, or for you to, get that, high performing grade in school or in a final that almost like propels your trajectory in life.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes stepping out makes others look and not say good things, but that's courage.
Yes. Yes.
I love this. So you finish at Washington State. I know you've been back with your family, and everybody's like, Kevin, like they remember you back there, right? Mm-hmm. You legend. But let's talk NFL transition. What was that like? Because you talk about college, like the speed and decision making. Mm-hmm. Everybody's fast. That happened in college. What was that transition like to like NFL?
That was, every level has its difficulty. But I think that one was the most difficult because it was the combination of everything learned on the way, and then almost realizing that you essentially don't know nothing. All of that stuff really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because there's a difference between being fast and playing fast. And that right there was the difference. And it is the difference. You can be fast, right? On the field.
Yes.
But playing fast being fast is physical.
Yes.
Right? Being fast is physical. I'm, genetically inclined to be fast and have quick twitch. But playing fast has everything to do with knowing and understanding your responsibility and what your role is and what the, what you can do in the scope of your responsibilities are. And if you don't know that, as well as knowing the opposition, right?
Yes.
As well as knowing the opposition. So if you don't know your opponent and you don't know yourself and you don't know your responsibility, you can only be fast. You will rarely get to playing fast. And that's the next level. That's the next level.
So sounds like that preparation piece becomes even more vital at that top level because you have to know thyself and know thy enemy pretty darn well.
Inside and out. And mind you, they don't give you a lot of time to figure that stuff out. They don't give you a lot of time to figure that stuff out.
Well, so you were telling a story, this is years ago now, like one of the first times we met, about playing with T.O., so Terrell Owens in San Francisco, if I remember right. And you were at practice one day and it was like, a number of steps you get to take in 5 yards, something like that. Hopefully you're recalling the story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or I'm crazy, but I think that was such a fascinating example to me. Can you kind of walk through that situation again? I have my kind of opinion of what you told of that story, but I thought it was an interesting, like to your point of like, you're fast, that play fast kind of mentality. It was just the way that coach was coaching you guys.
Yeah. I remember, so they were trying to tell us, because in the West Coast offense in San Fran, everything was based off steps, right? It was all based off steps. If you had a hitch, 5-yard hitch, it was 3 steps. Curls are, 7 steps, because that's 12 yards. And I wasn't coached like that. I didn't have that. It was get to 10, or get to 12. I was, taught in yards. And I'm thinking to myself, like, and I'm watching T.O. run his routes. I'm like, I can't get there in 7 steps. I'm watching this guy and he's fast and his legs are long and he's getting to he's getting to 5-6 yards in 3 steps. And I'm like, how? Like, I don't know.
He's like 6'5", isn't he?
Yeah. I'm like, how are you basing this whole thing off of him? Because if you are, then where's my equation at? Are we going to think
exactly times 1.3? Perfect.
Put this thing on a curve. And then, watching Jerry Rice, and he's doing the same thing. And then, Hani Awezike and those guys are all doing the same thing. I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I mean, I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna try it. And then it was a element of, pushing myself to get to those 3 steps. And not only just get to the 3 steps, but get to the 3 steps and make it look like I'm going further than that,
Yes.
And being deceptive, and then trying to get to the point where it's not a thought process. I can actually, look around and see what the corner is doing, because in the beginning, I'm just pushing, trying to get to the 3 steps. And then here, this corner is playing cover 2. And he's like, were you supposed to convert that? I'm like, when? It's like, when the corner is in cover 2, I'm like, well, I was looking at the 3 steps, man.
You're like 1, 2, 2.5.
1, 2, 3. It's like, where are you going? It's supposed to be. I'm like, when? So, that's why I say there's a element of being fast and playing fast that, is the adaptation phase when it comes to moving to the NFL and being able to get to a point where you're just playing fluid without the thinking.
That's such an interesting point too, because you walk into a brand new offense, brand new teammates, brand new everything, and they might have been there a while, right? Mm-hmm. Your teammates and coaching staff, they could have been there a while, but the expectation remains of, like, if we say 3 steps, and it's 3 steps. I don't care if you're 3 foot tall or you're 6'5". It's like, you're going to get there.
Get there. Yep. You're going to meet the expectation, because that's the standard.
That's the standard.
And the standard doesn't change for people. The people change to meet the standard. And so that's essentially what, these young athletes have to understand. And anybody that is trying to, achieve success at anything, the standard is there are people that have done it before you. And if you can either follow their blueprint, have the opportunity to spend time with them, and they can talk to you about it. But being able to understand that that's the standard and it's your job to achieve it, then, that will propel you to the next level.
That's huge. I'll be aware of time. I got 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
2 more questions. Who's one of the best quarterbacks you've played with, and what made them so good? And I'll ask a follow-up question on that of who's one of the best coaches you played for, and what made that coach so good?
Okay. Well, man, one of the best quarterbacks that I've ever played with has to be Ryan Leaf. Ryan was such a natural at his position. So he didn't at the beginning didn't possess all the other attributes that you would see from a quarterback in regards to, everything that he had knocks on, right? Everything that he had knocks on. But on the field, man, I'm talking about crunch time. Man, I'm talking about, when we needed it, and when we needed it, it was just one of those things where he had gotten to the point where he and I, because I was the inside slot receiver, so a lot of the hot reads based off blitzes were areas where I did a lot of my work and damage. And so we had to develop a special communication, throughout our season or throughout our time together, because if we didn't, the offense stalled.
Yes.
And so for him and I being on the same page in moments like that, where I can just look over and he's looking right at me, and he gives me the little, or he gives me the little, and then we execute, and it's spot on, it's spot on. Just, the catchable passes, the touch, being able to throw the deep ball and being able to throw the pass in tight windows and things like that. And it was just it's just a thing of beauty. He had a unreal arm and physique, man. I remember one story. I think we were playing Cal, if I'm not mistaken, and they had blitzed. And I was running a wheel route. I think I was running a wheel route, and they had blitzed, and I didn't get a chance to see it until after. But I ran my out route and my up, and I was trying to figure out like what was taking so long for the ball to get to me. Because I'm so focused on selling my route, and then everybody came back. Like I caught the pass and scored a touchdown, and kind of coasted into the end zone on a celebratory perspective, and I was trying to figure out like, man, why was the ball so late? And thinking back, like, man, what? Like, get to the sideline. I was like, man, what took him so long to throw the ball? And come to find out, they had a Mike backer or a Will backer that blitzed up the middle of the A gap, and this guy is basically like hanging on, like draped on to Ryan, and he's like throwing the guy off and like launching this pass to me. It's like, man, it's like, wow, it's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Hopefully you gave him a little like, hey, hurry up next time, would you?
Yeah. What you doing back there playing around, man? Stop playing.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Who's one of the best coaches, and what did you learn from that person?
Oh, man. Let me see. So there's a couple. There's a couple. Because when I was playing for the Crush out here, mm-hmm. We had a coach by the name of Mike Daly, and Coach Daly was he knew how to motivate men, right? He knew how to tap in to something deeper and motivate and inspire us to play and to play together and to learn about each other and take all of that chemistry and put it on the field and let us know that there isn't anybody on the field that has as much, that is willing to do more, that is capable of, overcoming. And he would always have a message like that for some reason. I don't know where he got him from, but he always had an inspirational message like that inspired us to go out and perform. And we won the championship here with the Crush, because of that. Put the right guys in the room. And we just saw Elway the other night at the National Football Foundation, where he was getting honored. And I was saying that John did in my mind, that John did a really good job of putting the right people in the room together.
Yes.
Just like we were all in that same room, did a really good job of putting the right people in the room together. And that's how special things happen, just like that night, you put the right people. And that takes a keen sense of being able to, like look at personalities and see how they'll fit. Yes. And capabilities and kind of merging those all together and with a common goal. So I think Mike Daly was one, and as well as had a coach in college, Mike Price. Mike Price was, he is a really, really good coach, and I knew that he had been exposed to a lot of other athletes, in his time, and to basically go around and handpick us, because he had a lot of junior college guys. He had myself, had Michael Black. Shout out to Michael Black, my roommate, my boy, and then Chris Jackson, who coaches receivers for the University of Texas right now, and Sean Timms, Sean McWashington, and Nyan Taylor. And it was, the Fab Five receivers, us five. But, there was there was two of us, Chris Jackson and myself, that came from junior college, and Michael Black that came from junior college, and we were all kind of dropped in the bucket with the rest of the guys that had been there for 4 years, right? And so, how do you take these guys? And back then, junior college was almost like, we're going to bring in a couple guys here and hopefully they work, So if they don't, then that's on them. They only got 2 years. So, we'll, see what happens. And so it was like one of those where, the coaches had to still nurture and massage the egos and point us in the right direction and grow us along with growing us on the field. So they did a masterful job with that. Shout out to Mike Price and Coach Mike Levenseller.
I love that. And it goes back to your point of like the impact we can have on others, right? If we choose to, it can be absolutely tremendous. And it can be the smallest moment, right? Of the coach just telling you like, I did that play. And he's like, no,
you didn't.
No, you didn't. And then it's like on to us to be like, oh, can I get help? Right. But for them to point it out, it's because they genuinely care.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I love those. Okay. I know we're right at time, Kevin. I'll let you get rolling, man. I always say on these, we had breakfast, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? Last week? I don't know. Whenever it was.
Yeah.
But it's like I should just bring recorders with me and just set it on the table and we just chat about life and stuff there. And a little podcast episode. But no, anyway, last thing, if people want to connect with you, where can they best find you for not only social media, but your tip of the day or top of the morning, your message of the day? Where can they connect with you?
So yeah, my social media on my Instagram page, which is K_Mac_9. I usually do top of the mornings. I call it top of the mornings because it's my early morning walk with a message. So I do this whole morning routine, and it's typically me and my dog. Although sometimes he just, sometimes I got to leave him at the house. But he's typically with me, and it's an opportunity for me to gain clarity, and make sure that I'm clear about my intentions moving on for the day. Yes. And a lot of it applies to young athletes. So I do have a lot of young athletes that watch my top of the mornings in the morning, and also on my YouTube page, my YouTube channel, you can come check that out too. Man, I have to get you on the podcast one time. And it's Coach Kevin McKenzie. That's the channel name. So Coach Kevin McKenzie. You can check those interviews out there and visit me on top of the morning on my Instagram page.
Love that. We'll put links to both of those in the show notes. So please go connect with Kevin, follow him, get your tips and tricks. Again, I said at the beginning, right? You study the best, you learn from the best, you apply what they've done. Even if it's one thing, magic stuff can happen, right? And you'll see it and you'll be blown away by that sort of stuff. So Kevin, thank you for spending time with me. I just truly appreciate you.
It's a pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you, Matt. And I appreciate everything that you're doing, man. You're doing a great job, and keep it up.
Thank you very much. Well, for everyone else, thank you as well for watching Kevin and I today and listening to us. And as I say every single time on Masters of the Game, right? Take one thing, put it into action, take one step forward, just one little thing that you can do that just starts to build this massive amount of momentum around you in school, in sports, in business, in life, whatever you're trying to achieve. It's one step at a time. So please share this with your family, friends, teammates, strangers on the street. I don't know, just share it with everyone. And we'll see you on the next Masters of the Game interview. Thanks, everybody.
Right.